All right, either you got the car started or you're a dead man. A rat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat-tooey. A rat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat-tooey. A rat-a-tat-a-tat, a rat-a-tat-a-tat-tooey. A rat-a-tat-tooey. This ain't starting, man. You fucked up again, it ain't starting. I'm gonna kick your ass, kick your ass. Come on now. Come on, everybody, this ain't starting. Come on, motherfucker. Fix the fucking car. Come on. You fucked up again, you asshole. What you doing up there, Vinny? Rudy. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tooey. Woo! All right, and we're off. Let's go!
Hey, Adrenalheads. I'm Jayme.
And I'm Mark. And this is Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. And this episode of the podcast we're covering, because it's, guess what, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, it's Halloween season.
Yay,
it's October.
spooky season.
Yeah, it's spooky season. And we're going to start it off with our coverage of Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning from 1985, which continues our Friday the 13th saga that we like to cover. We know that watched it in the 80s, started it with the first 3, and then Jayme and I continued it with Part 4, and now here we have Part 5. We're edging our way through the original Paramount line of Friday the 13th of the original series. This movie was directed by Danny Steinman. The box office for this particular movie was $2.2 million estimated, and that was what it was to make the movie, honestly. And it grossed worldwide at $21 million, and well, almost 22 at that point. The composer for the particular movie was done, the composition for the music and everything else, just as usual, Harry Manfredini. His typical score as he always has. And I looked it up, and I don't think this is right, but I should ask the man himself. Mr. Tom Savini was the effects artist, but I don't think
he was
that's
the effects
correct.
Artist on the. He's done a few of them.
He did episode.
Verify.
He definitely did episode 1.
Yep, he created Jason.
He created the original Jason and dealt with all the original kills in the original Friday the 13th. Definitely did do part 4. But I will ask the man himself once I talk to him again. I have not talked to Mr. Savini in a while, so I'll ask him that. But
I haven't seen him since, I think, 2017.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot with the school. So for those of you who don't know, Mr. Tom Savini himself owns an effects school and teaches you how to do creature effects in movies and TV. So, and that's in Pennsylvania, by the way.
Oh, it is? What part?
Oh, I'm forgetting what part. It's not too far from where the Monroe.
Over Pittsburgh area.
Yeah,
okay.
It's the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. So
That's
he's in
right.
that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other side
Mall.
from me.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, another hour or so to get over there. It's like 2 hours, right?
No, it's like 6 hours to get over to Pittsburgh from here.
Wow.
It's the complete opposite end of Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Pennsylvania is huge, I realized, too.
Yeah, if you're going widthwise, it's pretty darn big.
Damn. All right, so with that, we have a synopsis for this particular movie. Jayme, you want to take that away?
Sure. 5 years after killing the goalie hockey mask killer of Jason Voorhees, Tommy Jarvis has grown up in various mental hospitals, unable to get over the nightmares about Jason's return. When Tommy is sent to a rural halfway house in New Jersey for mentally disturbed teenagers, a series of grisly murders begin anew as another hockey mask killer begins killing off all people at and around the residence. Has Jason returned from the dead to restart his killing spree? Has Tommy decided to take over the reign of Jason, or has someone else?
Yeah. And we already said, you've known that when we post this as is, it's a spoiler review, everybody. So we do know this. I'm sorry. The movie is how old now? Going on 40 years?
Yeah.
It's going on 40 years. We're in 2024, so
Yep.
it's gonna be 40 freaking years old next year. All right. So yeah, as we know, and if you watch the movie, yeah, it's not Tommy. It's not
It's not
Jason.
Tommy. It's not Jason.
It's somebody that had an issue at the like what would you call it, a mentally
mental break.
disturbed camp,
It's a halfway house.
halfway house. All right, so he had a son that he knew about that was mentally disturbed, got killed, and then goes on a killing spree and utilizing the Jason persona.
Well,
as
yeah,
a
the
way.
son seemed to be, for lack of a better term, a little slow.
Correct. Yeah.
And abandoned by his family.
Yeah. He needs his candy bars.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's overall, everybody shuns this movie who's a Friday the 13th fan.
Because it's terrible?
Well, they say it's terrible because it has no Jason in it, and
that's not why.
Okay, why?
The acting is awful. God, most of it's porn quality acting.
Well, that's where I was gonna go on in a sense, but the actual there was one sex scene in the actual movie itself that was by Tina and Eddie that had to get cut because the MPAA had to cut it and say, yeah, this is bordering on an X rating with your sex scene and the nudity going on in here. So they had to do a lot of cuts when it came to that particular scene. I would admit, yes, some of the acting was a bit bad here and there. We do have...
A good amount of it was terrible.
We do have like people that we do know within the film that, you know, and I didn't put them down here, but they're people that you've seen, like Miguel A. Nunez Jr., who plays Demon. We'll get into it when we go into people we know within it. So we've seen him before in a lot of things, as well as Shavar Ross. And Shavar Ross, as we all know, was in Different Strokes. And he played, you know, Garrett Coleman's buddy in Different Strokes. I forgot his name, but
he was able to act.
He was able to act. Yes, that is true. But there was a bunch of stuff that was actually cut in this movie too, with kill scenes to make it more gory and more explicit. That's what the MPA. So it didn't really captivate everybody because some of the kill scenes weren't what as they were supposed to be. Then a lot of cutaways,
spurting blood, and
yeah, or the way they killed. We'll get into that when we get into specific kill scenes and stuff like that later. But to continue on with people we may know from the film. So you want to start us off with the first one, which we all know.
Corey Feldman, famous, infamous, trying to be a singer and failing. Oh my God. He's so bad.
Didn't you meet him recently?
About a year and a half ago, and I pretended I liked his music so they didn't kick me out of line.
I met him years ago before it got really bad, so.
Yeah, he was nice to talk to, but yeah. His wife at that time, who I think they got divorced like a month or two later, was talking on the line and trying to get, telling us how great the music is. And I was pretending I liked it, and I was pretending I'd come to his concert in a couple months when he came back through town. I did not.
No. Sure, everybody said the same thing.
Yeah. Corey's had a rough life. Yeah, I feel bad for him, but he's also kind of a dick to women, so...
Yeah. Yeah, that is the common consensus.
Yeah. It doesn't... Having your rough life doesn't excuse you for treating women the way you do, so...
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. Him and his angels. All right, but anyway, Corey Feldman, if you don't know him, he became well known for his roles in the 1980s in films such as Gremlins, Goonies, and Stand By Me.
Yep.
Feldman collaborated with Corey Haim, starring in numerous films such as the horror film The Lost Boys, one of my favorites,
See here?
the teen comedy License to Drive, and the romantic comedy Dream a Little Dream. They reunited for the A&E reality series The Two Coreys, which ran from 2007 to 2008. He has his own band called Corey and the Angels, we just discussed that, and is currently supporting his new album and appearing at conventions.
Still
if you want to
ongoing.
laugh, if you want to laugh, just look up some of his music, like him singing.
It's on
or
YouTube,
dancing,
everybody.
or pretending to shred with the guitar when he's not actually playing.
Shirtless too,
I mean-
by the way.
Or with these, what's he been wearing lately? Like these mirror ball pants that have one section missing right at the crotch. It's just, but yeah, he's been pretending to shred with, like, showing off his acting skills while performing, because he's pretending to shred the guitar, but he's not actually playing. If you know anything about guitar, you can tell he is not, in fact, playing.
Yeah. Well, along with that, there's more and more talk about the new Goonies movie that's going to happen.
It keeps going back and forth on stuff I see with that. Like, yes, it's real, no, it's not, and I'm not sure what.
I can't say for a fact that this is real. I always take it on that it's all speculation and people are putting it out there. Originally during the pandemic, when Dick Donner was with us and still alive, he did a whole Goonies reunion on Zoom, on YouTube, and said he wanted to, and he was pushing forward the idea. So Corey Feldman, Sean Astin, Data himself was there as well, and they wanted to do a sequel that would be years and years later, but with the original kids, but they have their own families and they go on a Goonie adventure. And
I'd watch it.
And after Donner had passed away, it just sat on a shelf and nobody talked about it. So up until within the past few months, it's been speculated that it's in process of being filmed or written or whatnot. So
yeah, it's been making its rounds on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of the cast has responded like, no, nobody's talked to us about it. That's just a joke. But also we've seen people say, no, it's not happening. And then all of a sudden, hey, look, it's happening. Like, so.
Yeah, you can't believe it. I don't believe things until I see it. So
yeah, and I mean, like the Friday the 13th TV show that was supposed to come out, like all kinds of things can go wrong before it actually gets produced.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and that's been on. It was actually in production at one point, and then they just like pulled the plug. So we don't know. Everything's still in litigation. Sean Cunningham was part of that. And I guess it's all stuck in litigation hell. And they were set forth to have a show, and they had somebody
it's supposed to come out this month.
And yeah, but
and it hasn't even started filming.
Hasn't even started filming. So
the showrunner left. I forgot who it was. And they haven't hired anybody new.
Yeah. They had somebody set for Pamela Voorhees originally. I forgot who it was that I actually, we talked about it the last time, but she was very well renowned, and I was just like, are you, oh no, yeah, it's like Charlize Theron.
What was that? It was her? Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and they actually discussed contract and everything else. And I was just like, what the? Okay. But I don't know. That's in the air as it is, as well as everything else Friday the 13th. But if you still have your games on PlayStation, PlayStation 4 or PlayStation or an Xbox One, you can still play it. It's still available online. So have fun with your Friday the 13th game. Go around killing camp counselors as Jason, or being a camp counselor and going after Jason and playing with your friends. And with that, we'll go on to the next person, Mr. Tom Morga, who actually plays Jason in this. So this is a flashback Jason. This is not the one that we know from the actor who plays the quote-unquote Jason in the film. But this is a flashback Jason that Tom Morga is playing. So Morga began his stunt work in the mid-1970s. He later began working as a stunt double for Patrick Duffy in The Man from Atlantis. And if you don't remember that, sad, but I do. I remember that was supposed to be the Aquaman of that time in the 70s. Since then, Morga has doubled for several actors in feature films and television. His work also included stunt and non-stunt acting roles in numerous Star Trek films and television episodes. However, he only received credit for a very small number of his appearances. So he's one of those. It's very much like Lee Majors and the Fall Guy. I'm the unknown stuntman.
Yeah, stuntmen luckily are getting their due now.
Yeah. Yeah. And Dick
Yeah, it was
Warlock
a
is
tough
still
time
with
back
us.
then.
Dick Warlock is still with us. Our original, he's one of the guys who played Michael Myers in Halloween 2.
I met him.
Yeah, he's amazing. Him and his wife are wonderful to talk to. Great people.
He also did stunt work in Jaws.
That he did. Yeah. So, yeah, they're all around us. They do all these amazing things, but you just don't know. So I give credit where credit's due. And even we all know that we did that one episode of Adrenalheads Cinema Podcast, our favorite Jason, my favorite Jason. And Jayme and I both stated that it was Kane Hodder.
Because if you pick anyone else, you're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, you got Ken Kersinger and you got CJ Graham. They're all great people, but you know, it's just that if you see them in the street, you wouldn't know who the hell they are. There's like this tall guy going, whoa, whatever. But
CJ Graham is so tall.
Oh, he is. Yeah, he was a bouncer in the bar. That's how he got that job.
Not surprising at all.
All right. Before we digress any further, the next one.
Dominic Brassia played Joey. He was born April 6, 1957 in Staten Island. He was an actor and director known for Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, Evil Laugh, Hard Rock Nightmare. I don't know that one. And he died on November 26, 2018 in Bozeman, Montana.
It's pretty funny for somebody who grew up and lived his first 28 years in Staten Island, New York. I didn't realize he was from Staten Island. It's nice to know that there was somebody, but unfortunately he did pass away. So, but he left us somebody to remember him by, a character. Next up would be Todd Bryant Neal, who played Neil. He has a career that spans a gamut from well-loved Dickens street urchin to a Klingon officer. Is a little unusual, but that's Todd Bryant's acting life. Bryant relentlessly pursues Kirk and company as Klingon Captain Claw in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Began acting at the age of 6. He debuted in the title role of Oliver at the Morgan Theater, Santa Monica, California theater itself. And growing up, added weight and height to Bryant's frame, turning him into a classic heavy type. After motion picture stunt school and acting classes, he found himself playing bad guys in such TV series like 21 Jump Street, Werewolf, which was on the Fox network. That was the Fox network's launching pad along with Star Trek Next Generation, the Tracy Ullman Show, everything. That was Channel 5 and the East Coast for New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
I don't remember Werewolf. I remember everything else. I don't remember Werewolf.
It only lasted a season. They took it off. But it was an interesting series, though. You could still find it. You could find, oddly enough, you could find it on Tubi and on Pluto TV. Just to give you a little update. He was also in Paradise and Coach, the TV show, which was a sitcom called Coach, as well as the less villainous roles in Murder, She Wrote, The Hogan Family, and Our House, along with a recurring role in Beverly Hills 90210, apparently. For Star Trek V, his 6th motion picture, Bryant threw himself into the work of being a Klingon. So that's his most renowned work because you could see him. He's acting. He's giving dialogue. He's under all that makeup, unfortunately, but
it's harder to emote under all that makeup. Like, that's more impressive.
Exactly.
All right. Next up, we have Juliette Cummins, who played Robin. She guest starred on TV shows like Simon and Simon, Murder, She Wrote, Whiz Kids, Max Headroom, and New Love, American Style. Theater credits include Lend Me a Tenor, Play It Again, Sam, The Seagull, Butterflies Are Free, and Nuts. And Juliet was a member of the Beverly Hills Theater Group for 4 years and studied at USC Drama School. She was a U.S. national gymnast for 14 years.
Yeah, and it's so funny too because I remember seeing this and I recognized her, and I think it was because of Whiz Kids. And I was a big fan of Max Headroom too, as well.
I was a big fan of Max Headroom too. I think everybody was back then.
Yep. Next up would be Bob DeSimone, who plays Billy, and he's the male nurse. He was born on April 15, 1946 in Boston, Massachusetts. Bob has done small parts in the 2 movies for his director brother, Tom DeSimone. So, yeah, there's nepotism going on there, pal.
There's always nepotism.
Bob has done some small parts in 2 movies for his director brother, Tom DeSimone. He's a cab driver in The Outrageously Bawdy Chatterbox and a porno director in Angel 3, The Final Chapter. Oh, my God. I remember Angel series. It was like one of those go-to rental bad porn, like, I wouldn't say softcore porn, but they're action adventure. To give you an idea, literally, it was like a hooker on revenge.
Yeah, I never watched that.
Yeah, it was one of those straight to VHS rentals, but I'm not gonna downplay it is what it is. They were those bad B movies that you rent when you're like, I have nothing to watch tonight. I'm hanging out with my friends. We got a ton of beers. We're gonna play a game of cards and watch this during the 80s. And you go, okay, let's put this on in the background. And then that's what it is. But that was my brother and his friends during that time. And that's what they used to watch. So, moreover, DeSimone has appeared in a couple of films from director Danny Steinman. He had a funny bit as a wimpy high school teacher, Mr. Meeker, in the splendidly sleazy Savage Streets, which I do remember that movie, and almost stole the whole show with his hilariously portrayal of a sleazy coke-snorting medic, Billy, in Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, which we all know. DeSimone is married and has 2 daughters. He owns his own business and lives in Santa Rosa Valley in California. Moreover, Bob plays in the R&B, blues, rock, and jazz fusion band Midnight Ruckus.
Interesting.
So that's good for him. It's nice that he has his own business now and he gets a chance to play music.
John Robert Dixon played Eddie.
Yep.
Is a native of Hollywood and first appeared on television's General Hospital from 1963 as a young child. In the 60s, he was transplanted to New York at age 9. John eventually found the stage in school, appearing in productions including Oklahoma, Bye Bye Birdie, and Oliver as Fagin. Returning to the West Coast in his late teens, John gravitated towards show business, acting again on stage in a couple of feature films, most notably as Eddie in Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. John also appeared in numerous television commercials, both nationally and internationally. Always an adrenaline junkie, John got involved in motorcycle racing around 1990 and ultimately moved away from the industry for now, driving and instructing throughout the 1990s and beyond. John is back in Los Angeles and working in real estate.
Yeah, a lot of people wind up changing their careers. Some they did this for a stint, and then they go into a different career altogether, which is good. Which is funny because it reminds me, if you guys are not fans of The Big Bang Theory, that's what Penny does.
Yes.
And she worked with Will Wheaton. Anyhow, moving on. Tiffany Helm. And she played Violet and is the daughter.
I love Violet.
Oh, a lot of people did love Violet. There was a bunch of things. If you get those Friday the 13th box sets, they have documentaries and they have Where Are They Now and things of that nature. There's a segment of her at a certain point, and you go, whoa, she's a bit trippy. She's a bit different now. in comparison because it's been a while since those box sets and those documentaries. So, but check it out. It's really cool to watch. They have the behind the scenes, who was who. They have like that. If you get the box set, they have this. How long is it? It's got to be like 10 hours on the DVD of the documentary that starts off with Tom Savini and it goes throughout every cast member from the first movie to the last movie in Paramount.
So cool.
It's so cool. But if you have the time and you want to do a binge and you have the money to buy those box sets and you can find them, there's 2 of them. I forget who it is. Scream Factory might have one, and there was one that came out about 15 years ago in a tin that I have that has a lot of documentaries in it. Check it out. She's in there too. So anyhow, Tiffany is a daughter of Peter Helm and veteran actress Brooke Bundy. Tiffany studied dance with Roland Dupree and was a member of the Beverly Hills Mime Troupe. She started modeling in her mid-teens. Helm made her film debut with a small role in Hard to Hold in 1984. She had her sole starring part as Kate Haskell in The Zoo Gang in 1985. And then Tiffany portrayed Violet in the Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning in 1985 as well. Helm also portrayed an innocent juvenile delinquent, Andrea Eldridge, in the Babes Behind Bars parody Reform School Girls. Also,
interesting.
Direct-to-video kind of film, everybody. And we know what you say when they're kind of really bad B movies direct-to-video. It's a lot of nudity or action or, objectifying in it, as I like to say it nowadays. But moreover, Tiffany made guest appearances on such TV shows as like Freddy's Nightmares in 1988, which is pretty cool, continuing the legacy of horror. 21 Jump Street, 1987. That's pretty cool. You Again in 1986. Santa Barbara in 1984. The Young and the Restless in 1973. So she was a kid then, everybody. Bare Essence in 1983. And Likely Stories Volume 3. Okay. She also appeared as an Italian scientist, Francesca Sabatini, in the 1996 video game Rama from 1997. Interesting. So it might have been one of those video games that you just do voiceover acting on.
Yeah.
So Tiffany left acting to devote herself into portrait photography as a business. She has recently returned to the screen and can be seen in a few upcoming, or at this point, this is older stuff, Canadian productions, including Come True in 2020, Red Letter Day 2019, and Stephen King's In the Tall Grass in 2019. So, like I said, this is probably updated where I got the information about, I'm going to say at least 3 years ago or 4 years ago. So nobody updated it since.
Yeah. Melanie Kinnaman played Pam. Melanie was born on December 18th, 1953 in Holyoke, Massachusetts. She is an actress known for Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, The Once and Future Smash, and Best of the Best, 1989.
Interesting. And it's funny, too, because Pam was the main character, if you think about Pam. Everything was about Pam.
She was not the best actress.
I know, but the thing is that she was, focused in on. And I think her makeup ran a lot, too, in the film, if you remember. A lot of it was, like, bleeding down her face. I think it was, like, blue mascara or something, and it was kept going down.
Yeah.
I was like, it was, like, as a guy, I'm like, what's going on here?
And, I mean, she gets the final girl title for this movie.
Yeah. Well, there was always I was one of those fans of Friday the 13th that you would make a fantasy film and you get all the final girls going after Jason with Tommy.
Oh, yeah.
And that would have been my Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street crossover, because you would have the survivors from Nightmare and the survivors from Friday come together to pit these two together to be the ultimate face-off. But
that would be cool.
That was my imagination of Freddy versus Jason. But obviously, they already made one, and they're not going to do it again. Anyhow, we'll move on to the next one. That would be Miguel A. Nunez Jr. plays Demon. You can meet him at any convention right now. Everybody, he's going on the convention circuit for horror, sci-fi, and all the Comic-Cons and stuff like that. Chiller Theater, Monster Mania, if you're in the East Coast. Definitely out in the California scene as well.
Bring him some enchiladas.
Yep, bring him some enchiladas. But apparently people do that at conventions. I've seen him interviewed. Yeah, it's hilarious. He's an Afro-Latino actor and writer who played Harris Grant from The Family Business, Marcus Taylor from Tour of Duty, Spider from Return of the Living Dead.
Yay!
We do have a Return of the Living Dead reunion in this particular film, everybody. So can you guess the next one? We didn't mention him where you've seen them before, but he's in there.
Who is it?
Mark Venturini, and he was the one that played in the Return of the Living Dead, was with the leather jacket with the nose piercing down to the and the neck tattoo, and he gets bit on the head in the very beginning by the sewage zombie. Yep, that's him.
That's cool.
So we got Miguel and we got Mark in the particular movie, but apparently, Mark plays, and we'll get into it later. He plays Vic in this particular film in Friday the 13th Part 5. So if you didn't recognize him, he plays Vic, and we'll go into the horrific things that he did in the very beginning. Anyhow, continue on. Miguel also played in Biscuit from Life and the Voodoo Maestro of Spooky Island from 2002, Raja Gosnell, James Gunn film Scooby-Doo. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was the yep, Spooky Island, Scooby-Doo, Spooky Island. Actually, I'm a big fan of those movies. I don't know. Some people don't like them.
Well, they're fine. They're fun.
He also collaborated with Eddie Murphy in several films too. So that's where the face comes in and the comedic tone that he gives. Because I always saw him, every time I see him on film, I equate him with comedic acting. So I think I've seen him in like a ton of Eddie Murphy films.
And then we have John Shepard, who played Tommy.
Yep.
He was born November 18th, 1960 in Manhattan. He is an actor and producer known for The Stoning of Sora M. from 2008, Bobby Jones' Stroke of Genius 2004, and The Ultimate Gift 2006.
Well, we have next up is like a kind of a legacy actor. He's been around for a long time. So Marco St. John, and he played Sheriff Tucker. And he graduated from Fordham University in New York City and subsequently started as a stage actor there, doing several off-Broadway plays on Broadway, regional theater, and playing the role of Hamlet that played in San Diego Shakespeare Film Festival or Shakespeare Festival when he was 28, and subsequently 9 productions on Broadway. The last of these, David Merrick production, playing opposite Julie Harris in 40 Carats. Well, in this production, he also played Dr. Paul Stewart as The World Turns. So he did soap opera. And he went on to TV guest star many roles in CBS series Bull 4 and several films, as IMDb can attest to. Yeah, he's one of those character actors that you've seen a lot. And you just know the face because he comes in for like a cameo or to give dialogue at its crucial moment in a film. And then that's it. And then he kind of walks off, but you remember him because you're like, wait, he said that one line. And then you remember it in the back of your head. So at present, he lives in Mississippi Gulf Coast and works frequently with films and television in Louisiana and Georgia, as well as LA and New York City. His most recent project is Patty Jenkins' upcoming, well, it's probably old at this point, the miniseries on TNT, I Am the Night. And this is a long one.
I can't tell you or not.
What?
I said, I don't know that show, so I couldn't tell you if it came out already or not.
I'm pretty sure it did. It was one of those that came and went. We could probably cut this one down, Jayme.
You want to?
We could collaborate on this. So,
Okay.
we're gonna go on next to the next one. So this one will be Deborah Voorhees, and she played Tina. We all know who Tina is because there was a key scene that was so objectifying and so naked. And but everybody remembers it because if you watch documentaries on Friday the 13th, apparently she had the best boobs. So
she had some nice boobs.
So she has a production company called Voorhees Films, and which has produced her most recent film, which I actually mentioned to Jayme last time we spoke when we talked about Friday the 13th, and this is called the 13th Fanboy, which came out in October 22nd in 2021 in select theaters. Now you could get it on Tubi, Netflix, Prime, depending on where it's being streamed. It's a possibility for you to actually watch it, or you could buy it. And sometimes if you go to, like, let's say iTunes, your Apple TV, and go to iTunes, you can get it for a decent price. I highly recommend it because it's an interesting movie. But so they give a little brief synopsis of that particular film. So it's the new film by Deborah Voorhees. Follows a real life cast of the Friday the 13th and other horror icons, and they are relentlessly stalked by and gruesomely killed by a maniac who is obsessed with them and their films. And the suspenseful shocker is loaded with old school slasher film kills, gore, and intelligent and relevant story that delves into psychology of stalking, which a lot of these actors have encountered. So she took literally from what Danielle Harris, Adrienne King, and a few other people who have experienced that on their end playing in these films, because you get fans who are not fanatics, but fan addicts, as I like to call it, and they're addicted, and it gets to the point where their addiction gets violent or crazy. And don't call me crazy because my mom had me tested. But, you know, she's been around a long time, and she got herself involved with the acting world and filmmaking world, and then created her own company. So apparently, you know, her career went from doing this particular film, doing several acting roles, and then creating her own world where she could create films, which is amazing too. It would be on TV or on regular film, whether it be low budget or not. So, so to continue forward, Voorhees' career as a writer began in 1990 at the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. As a 16-year veteran journalist, she has covered a variety of stories: mother on death row for killing her abusive husband, a schizophrenic psych patient at the Austin State Hospital, who also nationally known folk artist. The fall of communism through the eyes of a Russian immigrant, profile on Texas rancher Nan West. So she's been involved with a lot of writing and creativeness within this world to come to that point of being this director, producer, and production company owner. So this shows you where somebody who was a nobody became a somebody behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I just like how it works out. So besides shooting into films and music videos, Voorhees also shoots live concerts and theatrical and dance stage productions. So she's got a vast world of like just filming, recording, and documenting a lot of things. So it's pretty cool. So before directing and writing screenplays, Voorhees worked in Hollywood as an actress, obviously, for Paramount Pictures horror franchise Friday the 13th Part 5. CBS nighttime drama Dallas. So she was in a TV show Dallas. NBC detective drama Riptide, which I haven't watched. I remember it, though.
Yeah, I remember it. I don't think I ever watched it, but I remember like commercials and stuff.
I think the guy from the Hardy Boys was in that, if I recall.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, you're like, I don't know. The daytime soap, Days of Our Lives, and many others. So she's been around. She's been a character actor. So Voorhees also taught acting for film in Eastern New Mexico University, as well as British literature and journalism in Texas and New Mexico. As a journalist, she has written and edited for the Dallas Morning News, Fort Worth, as we mentioned, Front Desk Magazine, Modern Luxury Magazine. Well, isn't that something you get on an airplane? I think so. And the Shakespeare Standard. Learn more about Voorhees and her company at VoorheesFilm.com. VoorheesFilms.com.
And also the fact that someone with the last name Voorhees ended up in Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah.
But the one without a real Voorhees in it.
It would have been amazing if she was in that particular film.
Or she was the killer.
Oh, man. Yeah. I forgot who was it. It was Wilma from Buck Rogers that was in that played the mother. She could have easily played the mother in that particular movie. I'm not saying that because she's old, but the fact is that she would have been old enough to play that character. And it would have been like, bam, there's your joke right there. Her last name's really Voorhees.
Yeah.
There's your zinger. Anyhow.
All right. Next, we have Dick Wyand.
Yep.
He played Roy, and he is known for Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, The In-Laws in 1979, and Murder, She Wrote in 1984.
Yeah, the fake Jason. Literally. Yes. Yeah, he's a paramedic in it, everybody. He's the father of Joey.
Yep.
That goes on and gets fueled with this rampage. Then last, of course, would be Johnny Hawk, who plays Jason Voorhees in the opening scene, uncredited, apparently. He began working on the motion picture business as a child and received his SAG card at the age of 8. His parents, Richard Hawk and Margot Epper, also did stunts as well, as did his grandfather, John Epper. He was a member of the Stuntmen's Association for over 10 years and now works as an independent stuntman.
So stuntman is definitely in his blood.
It is in his blood. And no, he's not related to Stuntman Mike. If you catch that reference, because I still love the Grindhouse movie that Quentin Tarantino did. I don't know if you saw that, Jamie. Did you?
Oh, yeah. I saw Grindhouse in the theater.
Oh, Death Proof. I'm talking about Death Proof. That was
I mean, I saw what was Death Proof
and then Planet Terror.
Planet Terror, like, and all the commercials. Like
like
my brother and I went to the theater and saw it
back to back,
opening night. It was awesome. It's still one of my favorite movie going
it's like
experiences.
4 hours, everybody. So grab your popcorn.
There was a break. There was an intermission, and that was before they served dinner at theaters. So
and beer and liquor and all that good stuff.
Nachos and popcorn soda were our dinner that night, and some. Sure, there was some Twizzlers involved.
I'm sure there were. All right, now on to the movie. We went through almost everybody in there in the particular movie, but we did leave a bunch of people out. This is an all-star cast.
Really? Do you want to say all-star?
No, well,
there's only one name that you're going to use that anyone's going to recognize.
That's going to recognize that is true. I should say multi-character cast.
There you go.
There you go.
Yes.
It is by far one of the most underrated or looked down upon Friday the 13th films out there. But we're talking about it now. But
it's definitely in the running for the worst.
In that case, we'll talk about this particular movie and what are your overall thoughts, Jamie, about this movie? I know we kind of mentioned it and slipped them in, but
it's in the running for worst of the franchise for me.
Okay.
The acting, for the most part, is terrible. It's just terrible. Ethel and Junior are awful.
But they are a staple at conventions together now.
Yeah, that's fine.
Did you not see them recently They literally,
No.
those two actors get together, Carol Locatel and I forget his name, who plays Junior. They he puts the hat on. She comes on and has the soup spatula or whatever it is and does the
Stew.
hiya.
She makes the best stew.
Stew, there you go. And they do that together, which is so funny. And they do photo ops like that together.
Look, if this was not a Friday the 13th movie, and you can call it a Friday the 13th movie in quotes if you want because of the lack of Jason, I'm not fighting that.
Okay.
I like Halloween 3, so...
A lot of people pit this with Halloween 3, which...
It falls into that... I can see why people would compare it, but they're a little bit different because this was billed as a Friday the 13th movie. It was billed as a Jason movie. People thought they were going to see a Jason movie.
Because they saw
and
a
then
hockey
they
mask.
Yeah, and then they didn't see a Jason movie. Like I said, I mean, like, there is no one's won an Academy Award for playing in a Friday the 13th movie.
Not yet. Kevin Bacon hasn't.
For playing in the Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah.
People may have gone on and had better acting roles and better careers, but no one has won an Academy Award for being in a Friday the 13th movie.
Yes, that is true.
So I'm not expecting amazing acting, but some of this acting is just god awful.
It is.
It's just god awful. Like, when I say porn acting, I don't mean it as because of sex scenes or boobs. I mean it as it's just bad acting.
Oh, man. Would you talk about that with homeless man Raymond and how he gets killed? And yeah, we'll get into kills later, but oh my God. It was like, oh my God, you're an ugly man.
Yeah.
Him just showing up and looking into their window.
It's just, the acting is bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Because of the editing they had to do, the kills are not as much fun as they should be.
No, they're not.
There's a lot of them. I will give it that. Pretty much everybody dies.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kills. It's got that going for it. I think 21 is the count.
Really?
That's a good number.
Okay.
There's a good amount of kills, but they're not, for the most part, they're not fun.
No, they're not.
There are a lot of off-scene stuff. You don't get a lot of gore.
This one had not as much gore in comparison to. There's only one reveal in a theatrical, or if you get the DVD or Blu-ray or video release on iTunes or things like that, where it's just the aftermath of Eddie and Joey's body, and you see his arms and legs stuck on top of his body with stumps sticking out, and they're just festering with flies. That's it, and then they cover it really quick. So that's the only thing you get. But
side note, there was just a really weird noise in this room, so I'm unblurring my camera. If something comes up behind me, let me know.
Okay. This is live, everybody. We're going to keep that in. So if I see Tony come out behind her with a mask, her boyfriend come up from behind, or maybe one of her children.
Children are not home, so if you see one of my children, it's going to be a different problem.
Oh my goodness.
I just heard like a really, really weird noise, and I'm like,
and maybe it's that mouse that you saw in Galveston,
just followed me home.
when you were on Buffalo. Anyhow, the way I see it with this particular film, it's one of those that keeps the saga going and a continued story. So we had part 4 end off with Tommy Jarvis. We did not know what was going on. This one, we see him continuing on into a mental institution or facility, or an away house for
halfway house. He's left several institutions. He's been in several institutions. He's been drugged beyond belief.
Yeah.
They've done everything they can to help this poor kid through his PTSD. Which he understandably has.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I see this as a continuing like story that leads us to part 6, where we do get the resurrection of Jason. Yes, everybody, spoilers, but we are going to do a spoiler review of part 6 eventually, which is one of my favorite movies out of the series, by the way, because we get zombie Jason. And it just gives us that backstory of the actual character. And honestly, I always look at it, and I mentioned it before about Tommy Jarvis and the survivors, the final girls coming back and doing that whole thing with going against Jason, and then the nightmare survivors going against Freddy, and then combining and trying to pit those two together as an ultimate Jason and Freddy takedown. But I thought of Tommy being part of that and being a leader of it with the ladies of Crystal Lake.
Yeah, I'm not mad at the story per se. Just the execution.
Yeah, the execution of it is, well, we got the like you had stated, we didn't, it had a lot of kills, not as much splatter. It was a typical Friday the 13th in a sense that we had kills and it had some sort of plot. It had characters, but we didn't have the Jason itself in it.
Yeah,
so.
And I'm not mad about not having Jason. Like, I see where the plot was going, and I'm not mad about that part, but just the acting, like the stuff you come to a Jason movie for.
Yeah.
You don't have, and the acting. That in a story or a series of bad acting, this is the worst. Everybody's overacting, like their faces. Oh my god, so much.
Well, Ethel and Junior, if you look at them, they're just characters themselves.
Yeah, I mean, we've had, and even them are not like the main crux of it, because we've always had like
even part 3, with the wife and the husband, and he goes in.
We've had weird side characters who are not the best actors. They're just kind of funny side characters. And again, I'm okay with a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But they're not the only bad actors. There's a ton, like that. Everyone in that first scene when they show up is awful.
They weren't prepared that day.
Like, you could have grabbed kids from a high school production of something and it would have been done better.
It made me think too, as I rewatched it a while ago. I honestly, ladies and gentlemen who are listening, I haven't watched this in a while, and then I just refreshed my memory on occasion for like certain scenes, because that's all I need to, because it's stuck in my head. A lot of the Friday the 13th films are, because I grew up with them and I love the franchise. But I look at it as like, and I know what Jamie's talking about when he comes up to the house and he, the guy gets him out, and you see all the other people and how they're looking at him and how they're talking, and you're like, were they high? Were they smoking weed on set or something?
And they had, for whatever reason, they popped in some 1950s greasers.
Yes.
It's 1980. It's obviously set in the 1980s if you look at Violet and Demon. Okay, like we're in the 80s. We're in modern times for the time.
He wasn't more of a greaser. He was more of a punker, which is very similar to
No, I'm not talking about Demon. I'm talking
okay.
about the two guys who got killed in their car, whose names are escaping me at the moment.
Oh, it's like
the 1950s fucking greasers with the leather jackets and the white t-shirts and the stupid hats.
With the comb. It's like
why? Why were they there? Why did they look like that? Why didn't they look like they were from the 80s? Why did they look like they were from the 50s? Also driving an old ass car. Like, what was
is
the
that
point
a
of
reference to the Blob or something?
Yeah, I don't know. Was it all? Like, it was just dumb.
There was one saying that one of them had in the film. One of the greasers that just stuck with me. I forgot it. It used to be on the top of my head, and I used to say it at work, and somebody is like, "What are you?" I was like, "You never saw Friday the 13th Part 5?" They're like, "No."
Got to get this car started, or you're a dead man. Oh, he is dead.
Not that. It was something else.
Yeah.
You're rat-tat-tat-tat-tooey. Rat-tat-tat-tat-tooey. I think that's what it was. And they're like, what? I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Rat-tat-tat-tat-tooey. And he keeps still reciting it over and over again. Me
He's
pulling wire and I'm stuck in an attic. I'm rat-tat-tat-tat-tooey. I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you. Keep going, guy. I'm in an attic and I'm sweating my head off because it's like 100 and something degrees in summer. I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you.
But yeah, why were they like that? Why?
I don't know. It's to me, it's
it
like
makes
it's just
no sense.
they need to have like comedic characterizations of characters. I don't
I'm
know.
okay, but why from the 1950s and 1980 something? They should have not been in their 20s acting like that. They should have been in their 60s if you want guys from the 50s.
And it looked like a convertible from the 50s as well,
Yeah.
the car.
Like, it seemed like this weird time travel thing they were going for. I don't know.
And they were trying to mess around with the solenoid, which you got from part 4 anyway. So they didn't have Tommy there at the time getting a knife out. It's like, yeah, that's how you
they were
start
like,
it.
oh, we had a car. There were some throwbacks. Like you said, there were some throwbacks to other movies.
Okay.
So like that with car needing to be fixed. So we got a throwback to part 4 with that.
Yeah.
We got a bed kill, like part 1.
Mm-hmm.
There, bodies being thrown through windows, like
That's a staple.
it's a staple, which is good. A girl in the window getting ready for her date, instead of just seeing her sexy underwear, we see her whole boobs, but whatever. Like, I could see some in the diner.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like
the waitress.
But like that reminded me, like holding up the brown granny panties, the least sexy underwear anyone's ever seen on screen.
Yeah, I forgot about that scene. That's the one thing.
I don't know
and
how
I
anyone
loved how
forgets
he's
about
doing
that.
coke in the car waiting.
Yeah.
I want you and I want Elisa to go.
But I'm not. Yeah, Lana.
Lana
But
to go.
I'm
Okay.
I'm not mad about that either. Like, we need some weird shit, and we kind of saw him before. Like, he was the
Weirdo.
guy from the psych hospital who dropped Tommy off. So we saw him, and he was a dick then. So he's got to come back. We've got to see him get killed because he was a dick. So
His just desserts. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, I'm fine with that scene. I don't understand the greasers. I will never understand the greasers.
If any of you listeners know anything about why they put that scene in there, let us know in the comments. Obviously, if you are listening to this through Facebook or whatnot, or if you actually do follow it and see the post, just put it in the comments below or email us. We will, at the very end of the actual end of the episode of the podcast, we'll leave your feedback.
Pete and Vinny were their names.
Pete and Vinny.
Because those are perfect greaser names.
True. That is true.
And the one goes off, he's like, "I take a shit." And then the bunny comes out and scares him. I don't think he still had to take a shit. I think that happened when the bunny came out and scared him.
I think he cleared himself by then.
Yeah.
Anyhow, like you said, there's certain things, like this movie was not the greatest of acting in it, but there are people that we knew from within it, and we mentioned them. But with that, we'll move right along, not to make this too long. What were your top 3 kills?
It's not a kill per se.
Ooh, okay, this is interesting.
It's the placing of the bodies in Tommy's room.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's one of the few times we get some good gore.
Yes, there was a lot of blood in it, but the bodies and how they were killed. And Jason, that was actually a Jason thing later on, too.
Jason's always been good about posing bodies better than this, like for jump scares and stuff like that. But then again, this wasn't Jason, so not holding it against him.
Correct.
And they had it around, like, had some other spots where we're, running through the woods and we run into the director's, head with the knife against the tree and stuff. But like this was, and that just was left behind. Like that wasn't posed there. That was just left behind. Mm-hmm. These bodies were taken together and posed to scare somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And that was awesome.
Okay.
So not a kill.
Not a kill, but even still at that scene.
Or a collection of kills, but the kills themselves were not anything amazing. But that scene I really liked.
Yeah. Do you have another one or no?
Oh, I thought we would trade back.
Oh, I could trade. I'll go with my number 1. That would be Tina's kill after sex with Eddie. So she's prominently naked and la 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 la, closes her eyes and blah blah blah, and we see her relax and her head goes back. Garden shears right to the eye socket. Boom.
I wish we could have seen more of that because that was
And
awesome.
they clap shut.
Yeah.
But we don't see the outcome of the clap shut. And that's like
no, until she gets rolled over.
Yeah, which is so wild. But that's one of those death scenes that they cut because they couldn't be too graphic with it. And it sucks.
I like when Junior loses his head. And you see the head roll.
The decapitation while he's riding the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Mama! It's like he's all in his temper tantrum, and next thing I just like this.
Yeah.
With me after that one. The axe scene in the beginning with Vic and Joey.
That's a pretty decent one.
That was gruesome and not a Jason kill, not a fake Jason kill, but the fact is, oh my God, how Mark was like using the axe properly, swinging it properly, everybody, mind you, like chopping wood and going into it. And they probably put a dummy on the guy in there for him to hit, but the anger, the aggression, the blood that splatters up. But then the aftermath that we do see, like I mentioned before, where you see the limbs and they're shaking and it's on top of the body itself.
Yeah.
It's like an arm, there's a leg, you see open and the viscera coming out, and then they cover it quickly. And it's just the aftermath as well. Oof.
That's one of my favorites too. That's a good one. And that sets you up for, this is going to be great. And it's not.
Nope. You got another one?
I mean, Lana and Billy were a pretty fun scene.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I liked how, Billy just gets pulled back and killed. Like that felt like a good. And then Lana's smart enough to try and run away when she sees the bloody axe, but doesn't pay attention to where the guy is and runs right back into him.
Oh man. The last one I would have would be it's got to be the revealing of the killer's identity and of his hockey mask and how he died. And it's like you see the mask rip apart, like the plastic mask that he had on underneath the hockey mask.
Yeah.
When he fell and all that stuff.
Well, I liked what one good scene was right before that, right before he actually dies, when you think they pushed him off the edge, and everybody looks over, and he comes back up.
Yeah,
that was because you expect from like all the other movies, even all the Halloweens and whatever, like he's laying down there, like, oh, good, he's dead, and then you look away, like, oh, yay, everybody hugs. And they look back over, and he's either up or he's just gone. So that's what you expect, to see the sprawled out body and then it to disappear. And that's not what happened. He actually somehow held on and comes back up at you. Like that was a good scare.
Yeah.
I will give it that. That was a good scare in it. I thought that was a good move.
Awesome. I think that's about it. You did your 3 and I did my 3 apparently.
Yeah.
So we could go into interesting and unknown facts about the movie, or we could go into what do I have here? Lost scenes that I didn't put in our doc, but I'll quote them. But I will talk about them. So these are lost scenes that happen due to cutting because of the MPAA, which loves to rule the world, but now they can't really do anything if you release it unrated or go straight to video. So, poo-poo on you. Anyhow, there's an alternate opening. So in the original script, the opening scene was much different. So Annette Corey Feldman as Tommy Jarvis and Jason were taken to the hospital, the same hospital after the murder. So both of them were taken to the same hospital after the murders. Tommy goes crazy and kills all of the orderlies and patients while trying to get to Jason. He finally finds him, but Jason rises and attacks Tommy. You're
looking at me
Jason,
trying to say Tommy.
yeah, exactly. Jason rises and attacks Tommy. So it's kind of like a dream, very similar to what he had in the film, but that was different. And we'll get into that with the that cut scene. But Tommy wakes up back in the van, like in the original, because in the original scene that we do with Corey Feldman, it's just him. He's Corey Feldman's out in the woods with a slicker with rain falling on him, and he's looking at Jason kill somebody outside the grave because they were either grave
Two
robbers.
somebodies.
Yeah, and which is pretty much a premonition anyway, because that's what happens in part 6.
Tommy is constantly having nightmares.
Yeah.
About Jason. Jason coming back.
Yeah, so they redid that completely. So they had to they cut it and changed it. Next one would be Neil and Les. So there's a different shot of Neil and Les in the beginning when Tommy sees them getting killed by Jason in his dream. That's all it states. Joey and Robin in the barn.
Oh, so, I will say one thing.
Go ahead.
About the barn. I forgot to mention this before. Mm-hmm. There is a scene where Jason, and I'm using air quotes for those of you not watching, which is everyone, where Jason is standing at the broken barn door and the lightning strikes and it's a panned out shot and it is imposing. Like that is scary too. So they had 2 good scary scenes.
All right, so Joey and Robin in the barn. So there was a scene with Joey and Robin in the barn. Robin would put a piece of candy in Joey's mouth. Every time that he ate a candy, she would give Joey a kiss. It was cut because of time restrictions. So there was more with Joey at that point.
Yeah.
So it showed that Joey wasn't looked down upon by the group as much. So then we have Joey's death, which is a more graphic scene of Joey's death, was particularly filmed. His inside shot out of his back as he was axed by Victor in the scene.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Projectile viscera.
That's what you want from a Jason movie.
So obviously the MPAA had cut it. So
MPAA partially ruined this movie. I can forgive bad acting if there's good gore.
Exactly. Anyhow.
And they took away the gore. They left the boobs.
Yeah, which is so funny too because
they were nice boobs. I will admit that, but that I'm more for gore than boobs.
She has a great, beautiful body, and I do admit it. But it just made me laugh because this is known specifically just for that scene alone. That's what everybody remembers about it. All the male fans remember about it, I should say. But anyhow, or not all male. Yeah. We got to be diverse here, everybody. Demon finding Anita is the next one that's listed. So there's another shot of Demon opening the outhouse door and finding Anita's body. So you get to see her more in her bloody glory because she was teasing him outside because he had to eat those enchiladas.
Singing.
Yeah. Ooh,
which was weird.
Ooh, babe.
I don't want to sing to anybody when I'm in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Doing anything in the bathroom. I don't want to sing.
He was properly angry with somebody bothering him while he was in the crapper.
No, that was fair.
That was fair.
The singing, I don't understand.
I don't know. Anyhow, next one, Junior's death. Okay, Junior's death originally ran a bit longer, apparently. And you could see more of the gore, as well as the cleaver actually decapitating Junior on his bike.
That would have been nice.
Apparently, there is a still of the scene is shown on the back cover of the original VHS tape for the film.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
I would have been mad though, because if I watched it, like I saw that, I was like, "Ooh, that's gonna be really gory," and then I don't get to see it.
Yeah. That was always something I think everybody did when they went to rentals, if they looked in the back of the DVD or the VHS tapes or something. All right, Jake's death. So there was a better shot of the cleaver in Jake's face. Blood squirted out of the wound and down his neck. So it was more extended, so you could see more of the blood, which is pretty cool. And then next up, Robin's death. So Robin's machete death was originally shown in its entirety. The knife went through her chest, causing blood to spray across her upper half. So they did a minor cut, so you didn't see as much blood splattering. Now, this is the one that's been talked about in the documentary. So those of you who are fans, go to StreamYard and get your box set that I wound up buying a few years ago. It's still out there for 4K Blu-ray and Blu-ray, as well as the other one that I had that I'd mentioned to you about. You find them on Amazon. They might be a little pricey because they're used, or they might be brand new and still and more expensive for the fact that it is sealed. So in the original script for Part 5, Violet was supposed to be murdered by a machete between the legs while doing acrobats. So basically, when she's in a room dancing and she does that weird 80s robot style dance to that song. I love
that, though. It was so. I used to do the same thing practicing in my room.
It was almost like Madonna's Vogue she was doing.
Yeah.
If you remember. So
I used to do the same stuff. I thought it was adorable.
So she literally does a handstand and a split with her legs, even though she's in like yoga pants or whatever. The machete goes right down her center.
That would have been awesome.
So the producers found it too offensive, so it was changed to her getting macheted in the stomach instead. And there is, I believe, cut scenes, everybody, on the documentary. I'm going to talk about this. So, highly recommend physical media at this point, because you really can't find that on digital downloads. But other than that, that's it. What I had for alternate takes. We're going to go right into interesting and unknown facts about the movie. So you want to start us off with the first one, Jayme?
Sure. The hockey mask in this film has 2 blue triangles pointing down instead of the usual 3 red triangles pointing up. And that's how you know Jason wasn't the killer.
Exactly.
And there were no chips out of it, because when they show actual Jason in Tommy's flashbacks, you got the axe mark missing from the one side, like
the top chop on the head, and
then it's got the red triangles
and the side.
So that's how you know between Tommy's visions and
what's
the
reality.
Deadbeat dad.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And those are trademarks too of Jason, and everybody remembers them. So anytime anybody cosplays, they're like, "Oh no, you didn't get it right. You got to have the cut on the top."
Yeah, well, depending on which movie you're cosplaying as.
Yes, yeah. But a lot of people will show up with the blue one, and everybody like, "Nope, you're not Jason."
And now, if you are cosplaying as Roy and not Jason, that's fine.
That's fine. That's fine.
You're allowed to cosplay as anybody you want. I've seen people cosplay as Junior and Ethel. Like,
oh yeah, I like that.
You can cosplay as whoever you want.
That is true.
Yeah.
Next up, Corey Feldman cameo. So Feldman's cameo was filmed in his family's backyard in Los Angeles with a rain machine, and they do talk about this in-depthly on the documentary, because they needed to get him on. He was still filming another movie at the time. I think
Goonies.
He was Goonies at the time.
Goonies would have been around the same time.
So they had to go into his backyard, get a garden hose to get the rain right, and do offshoot to get his reactions. And that's literally what it is. And the other guys were in a different set area, like in another town or something.
It worked.
It's in California. So I thought it was pretty cool. Okay, next up.
The movie playing in the theater is Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. But the scenes are not shown, but the scenes are shown out of order.
So when it was originally released, the scenes were shown out of order. So think about going there, going, what the hell's going on here? All right. Well, next up, the filming location. So the diner was filmed at the diner scene where he goes, I want Alana to go. And he's doing his coke outside. That scene. The diner was filmed at 3354 Mulholland Highway in Agora Hills, California. So apparently that diner is still there.
Oh, the diner in part 1 and 2 is still there too. You can go there.
Yep.
The production companies were Georgetown Productions Inc., Paramount Pictures, and Sean S. Cunningham Films. And if you forget, Sean S. Cunningham is the one who created this whole monster.
And is the reason why we're not getting our TV series. Because of all the litigation, everybody. I just wish they would come to an agreement and suffice because they got to satisfy the fans, honestly.
If we keep getting Halloween movies, we can get a Jason movie. Come on.
I know. All right. Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, Part 5 is notable for having Corey Feldman only appear in cameo due to his commitment, and Jamie had said it before, to Goonies, filming that same year, where he originally was intended to reprise his role as Tommy Jarvis. The cameo is filmed in his backyard with a rain machine on his day off from the Goonies shooting. And it's the only film in the series to feature a unique hockey mask design with 2 downward pointing blue triangles instead of the standard red triangle pattern, which is, like she said, the dead giveaway of, yeah, that ain't Jason. Next up.
We've said this before. Unlike previous films, A New Beginning does not feature the actual Jason Voorhees, instead focusing on a new killer who is psychologically influenced by Jason's legacy. He was carrying a lot in that wallet of his.
That he is. The mental institution. So the story takes place in a halfway house for troubled individuals, with the main character, Tommy Jarvis, struggling with trauma of his past encounters with Jason. So obviously these are things I just copy and pasted, everybody. So you probably get bitching at me right now as we're talking about this, but we're going to finalize it. We only have 2 more. So the next one, Jamie?
The controversial ending. This film's ending was considered confusing by many, with the identity of the killer left ambiguous until the very last scene.
Which
I mean, that's the point of a lot of these things, is kind of a whodunit, who's the killer type of thing. It's supposed to be,
or if he's really dead.
Yeah. Then the Tommy part. Yeah. That's the weird part.
Well, that's what the talk was for almost a year, until we got part 6 coming out. And the idea was everybody thought Tommy's going to take over Jason's legacy and do it right this time and wear the right mask and everything else. And then we get a flip flop because of the bad reaction to part 5. So they realized we have to bring Jason back. And that was the reason why that happened. So that's why it's kind of different in comparison, because this is why we got the story at the end of part 4. Because if you remember, if you look at Corey Feldman's face when he's hugging his sister at the end of part 4 in the hospital, and it's got that slow motion and then it deadpans on his eyes and they're bugged out facing the camera.
Yeah.
And then
like they show him being crazy.
Exactly. So that's why we got part 5, as it were, to be a continuation of the legacy of Tommy, and maybe that he would take up the mantle. And this
especially
did
he kill Pam? Did he not kill Pam? We don't know. Was that all part of a dream or not? We don't know.
Exactly.
But yeah, the very, very last scene is confusing. And I think deliberately so. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah. The last one would be director change. So A New Beginning was directed by Friday the 13th Part 3 director Steve Miner, marking a return to the series after a long gap. So apparently things fell through with the original director who is finally directing it. But other than that's my thoughts. I have no quotes because honestly, I wasn't really going to go dig deep into quotes.
I mean, we've got Ethel's calling her son, "You big dildo, eat your fucking slop."
Oh man.
And
Yeah, that
then,
is true.
the sheriff or looks like we got us a maniac on the loose, huh, Sheriff? Stating the obvious. And then
Mr. Obvious, yeah.
yeah.
That's
And
about
then
it.
yeah, well then the infamous the damn enchiladas as he runs off to the
Yeah.
outhouse.
Damn enchiladas. And he
Yeah.
does the holding the gut and
Yeah.
really weird walk as he goes to the latrine.
And then we have to watch him poop, which is weird.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have been okay with the door closing.
Yeah.
And maybe a
Not
noise.
a camera
but,
in it.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, I think that sums up our thoughts and our what we liked and what we didn't like about Friday the 13th Part 5, a new beginning for 1985. So as we start to close, we're going to go to where can listeners hear you?
Here with you.
As well.
And also on the Invincible podcast with you.
Which is coming back.
Yay! And supposedly Sandman is coming back.
Yes.
And we get to watch, and also with you on Podcastica for Sandman.
Yep.
Assuming it comes back and Neil Gaiman's not blacklisted.
Yes.
Which makes me sad.
Yeah, there's a lot of controversy going on now. But Invincible will be back. We'll do that on Panels to Pixels podcast, as we always do, Jamie and I. This time we're getting a full season, according to what's been announced online. So
I'll believe it when I see it.
It's already
they
been
might
posted.
announce something at New York Comic Con this weekend. So
yeah, well, Derek from TV Podcast Industry has posted on Facebook about that, and it says we're getting full episodes. It's not going to be like a split season or anything like that, or limited episodes like we got. But I'm looking forward to that. And like you said, definitely with Sandman Cast. If you want to hear the rest of Sandman Cast, like the first season that we covered, just go to podcastica.com and you'll find all the podcasts that we had done through Sandman Cast.
And the Dead Boy Detectives, which sadly got canceled.
Yes, that was canceled, unfortunately.
I liked that show.
I did too. I was looking forward to more. It was light
and fun. It was easy to cover.
Yeah.
It was easy to watch, but it had enough substance to it that you stayed interested.
Yeah, it is true. But it gave us the great characters.
Yeah.
Really good writing.
Story. Yeah.
Yeah, I really
good acting.
Yes.
No greasers to be found.
But if your issue is with the British accents and language, it might not be for you.
Nobody should have a problem with that.
No, they shouldn't. Anyhow, with that, you could hear me here as always on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. We're looking forward to give you a lot more content. I'm sorry we've been away a little bit. We ended off with doing Queen of the Damned, and before that we were doing Interview with the Vampire regularly. Billy, who is on with us for Interview with the Vampire, might either be doing his podcast, which he hasn't given me a title yet, but we're going to put it on either the Adrenaline Cinema Podcast link, or if I create it within the next few days, the Pirate Core Entertainment Podcast. So that will be our launch for the Pirate Core Entertainment Podcast, which is a no holds barred kind of podcast that goes for anything of interest, media, film, shows, things that don't fit in the criteria, or somebody who wants to start off and have fun with it. Because I believe Becky wants to do What We Do in the Shadows.
Well, that's fun.
So she's going to be working on that, and I'm going to be working with her on that as well. So look forward to whatever Billy has to unfold here, either here on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast or the Pirate Core Entertainment Podcast. You could also hear me on Panels to Pixels Podcast, as we mentioned. Steve and I wrapped up The Umbrella Academy for season 4, the final season. Currently, we are in the process of doing Agatha All Along. So Becky and Steve and myself are going to be finalizing that. So As soon as you've gotten this, you would already had those other episodes up by the time I finish editing and getting this out to you. And then, of course, you could hear me on other podcasts as well as I guest host, either through Podcastica or Filmtropolis when it comes back with Robert Moda, Adam Gonzalez, and Frank Rodriguez. So with that, that's about it for where you could hear us. But I said earlier, we didn't really put anything out for feelers. This was something that was in the works for a long time. Jayme and I haven't had the chance to get together and do this. But for you to send any sort of feedback to us, all you have to do is go to our Facebook page, which would be facebook.com/Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. And there I usually put an image of what we're covering. You put the information down in the comments below. Honestly, whatever goes into the Facebook group goes to our Instagram, which is the same thing, at Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. So just leave them in the comments. I'll get them. We'll read them when we actually do record. Doesn't have to be about that particular episode that we're podcasting on of whatever subject it is. It could be something in the past. So I like to hear from what people think of our older stuff. So that would be greatly appreciated if you could do that. If you feel like you wanted to send out an email, all you have to do is write us at adrenalincinemapodcast@gmail.com. A regular texted email will read your thoughts. If you feel lazy like I do at times and you just want to just record it, your voice, because you want to be heard verbally, the best thing to do would be just record your voice and send it to adrenalincinemapodcast@gmail.com as an attachment. During the pandemic, everybody got microphones, headphones, got on Zoom, did all this cool stuff. People know how to record themselves, and just send that file to me and then I'll play it and you'll be as if you're on the podcast. It'd be great. But also we are found on YouTube podcasts, and we've gotten some feedback through YouTube as well from older podcasts that we've done, and I've read those older ones on newer recent episodes. So do so with that. So look for Adrenaline Cinema Podcast on YouTube, whether it be on the YouTube channel on your Apple TV or Roku, or you could go to YouTube Podcasts and we could find us there as well. And when it comes to rating or reviews, Apple Podcast or Spotify would be greatly appreciated if you could send a comment, rating, and review. It'd be awesome. 5 stars are highly appreciated, and we love you for that. So, along that, I just want to thank everyone for listening. I'm Mark.
And I'm Jayme.
And we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you so much.